Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the sixth turn of the Shadow Tech Goddess subtitled Kat, Part 4, Chapter 5, The Street of Knowledge. Now, you might have noticed that previous chapter readings in this fourth part of the book are a bit longer than they were in the previous parts of the book. A lot of stuff is going on. These chapters are more complex as far as action and so forth, and they get subsequently longer. So I can't spend a whole lot of time with my intro. Otherwise, this will be an impossibly long video. Let's get to it, shall we? Let's dig in. Part 4, Chapter 5. The Street of Knowledge, the crazy has descended upon us. Here we go. They moved down the street, leaving Autumn and John's little office far behind, keeping a close lookout for anything suspicious. The center of Vane featured a distinctive triumvirate of three impressively steep mountains of hard, smooth rock, situated in a rough triangle. They loomed over the Street of Knowledge, which meandered between them, each dominating a section of it. This, according to Autumn and John, was the heart of the street, and, possibly, the most dangerous area. As they neared the three peaks, the street became a noisy confusion of color, bright lights, and odd smells. The first thing they noticed was that the soot from the volcano was absent, the overhead sky free of it, and of black clouds, allowing the splendor of the great Zaphon Nebula to reign unhindered. Some sort of force shield seemed to be diverting the soot down the street. Under fluttering banners of light blue, dogwood red, and canary yellow, tents and stalls were set up, lined with inviting cushions and modest reading tables with vendors sitting or standing, smoking woodsy menthols as they dealt with passers-by. "Well, look at this," Kat said. "I see all sorts of stuff, and there's a bunch of yellow banners. Yellow's what we want, right?" Stenstrom looked around. Yellow, red, and blue were liberally mixed together, all vying for the passing crowd's attention. As he looked further, each of the three mountains was exclusively adorned in one of the three colors. The mountain decorated in yellow loomed off to their left. Side streets went up the mountain in a bumpy climb, the buildings getting taller, flat-topped, made of glittering glass and metal, more and more aggressively technological the higher up they went. "I suppose we head off to that one and make inquiries." They took the long walk down the twisting street, assailed on all sides by pillowed sage sanctums and smoky dens of knowledge. Men and women on the street, garbed in colorful robes, sought to lure them into various establishments, promising answers to all their questions, and to buy whatever wares they were selling. Ladies who appeared to be prostitutes harassed Kat, trying to sell her knowledge in exotic whoring techniques, and to recruit her into their ranks. They became increasingly aggressive. One of them, smoking a mounted cigarette and wearing a headdress of writhing mechanical snakes, blew a cloud of smoke in Kat's face. Kat coughed. The mechanical snakes all came up to meet her gaze, moving hypnotically, their eyes flashing. "Watch out for the snakeheads," Autumn and John had said. The color drained from Kat's face. Her eyes became distant and cloudy. Laughing, the woman sank back into the crowds. Stenstrom pulled Kat aside. There was no recognition, her movements all stilted as if pre-programmed. "Kat?" No response. In only a few moments, Kat's head had been emptied by the snakehead whores. A pair of people wearing blue robes approached. "Having trouble?" one of them asked. Stenstrom glanced at them and pushed them away. "We're fine. Be off." The blue robes shook their heads. "Your lady doesn't look fine to me. She's a standing 10X. All she knows how to do right now is breathe and go verti-hovey if she falls down." One of the robes held out a light blue card, flashing with circuitry. Kat's smiling face appeared in a corner. "Come see the night robes. Our prices are reasonable. We'll get you on a bargain plan, and you'll have your lady back in no time. Or, if you want her better than she was, we can go premium. Squash her up however you want. You want a goodly lady? We can deliver. You want a death-dealing whore? We can deliver that too. Ha ha ha! We can turn her into a real freak in the sack. You'll wonder what you ever did without us, the other blue robe said. Stenstrom waved them off and led Kat up the street, looking for a semi-private place to attend to her. The two blue robes followed, staying close. Stenstrom dragged Kat through the crowds, the robes pursuing. Moving Kat was difficult. She moved her legs, but only in a pedestrian, back-and-forth fashion, not generating any speed. So unlike the lithe, panther-like Kat he loved. Unable to evade their pursuers, Stenstrom stopped, pulled her into his chest, and faded into the shadows. The robes soon arrived. "Voinks!" one of the robes said. "He's gone all vaudy-villy!" "Oi, Utter!" the other one shouted. "You make us come chase you. Her plan's gonna get real brassy right quick." Stenstrom, invisible, moved several blocks down the street until he felt safe. Unable to see Kat, he unfaded from the shadows and looked to her. She was drooling, her expression witless. As he watched, her hand came up on its own in a robotic fashion, felt about her pockets, and slowly pulled out her bag of green squash capsules. What had Autumn and John told them? "We uploaded a floater, just a simple set of instructions to assist you if you get vugged." Kat must be acting on the floater Autumn and Melazar implanted into her brain. Methodically, she opened the bag, selecting a squash capsule where it shone in the sun with a transparent emerald luster. She slowly brought it to her forehead. She pressed it against her head, but the squash didn't break. Stenstrom brushed her hair back as she tried again. This time, the capsule broke, and the contents spilled out against her head. He wiped away the excess. As he touched the green fluid, he had a momentary hallucination, seeing flashes of Kat's life pass through his mind like acts in a play, and then drop out. Almost immediately, Kat blinked. "What happened?" she said. Relieved, he embraced her. "You got vugged by the lady with the snake headdress." Kat looked confused. She gazed up at him. "What'd you say, G?" "I said you got vugged, darling. Autumn and Melazar squash worked just as they promised. Their floater instructions worked as well. We owe them much for their help." Terror dawned on Kat's face. "I can't understand you, G. You're speaking some weird language." "I am?" Stenstrom thought back. Melazar gave them the Virtus squash after they had their images made. Reloading Kat's head must have nulled out the Virtus. Stenstrom had no conscious idea he was speaking a language other than League Common. He could understand Kat, but apparently all he could reply in at the moment was Virtus. They could no longer communicate until the Virtus squash wore off, or until they reloaded his head too. It was important to keep hold of the Virtus. He tried using hand gestures to calm Kat down. "Guess you're speaking that weird Virtus stuff, huh?" she said, somewhat dejected. He nodded in reply, just as a pair of hands roughly pulled them apart. It was the blue robes again. "Oi, no! Where'd you get that dirty squash from, criminals?" one of them asked. "It's confiscato time. Hand it over." "Yeah, that'll cost you some time in the P-Force dungeon. I'm thinking maybe out in the Verdi Hovey Park with the other stinkos." One grabbed Kat by the hair. "Don't fuck with the night robes. We're making us a robe arrest. And don't think you're getting out of paying us. We'll knock that crap squash right out of your head and make you brass up double for our bloody inconvenience. Yeah!" Kat formed her claws and rammed them into the guts of the nearest robe. "Ark!" he cried, doubling over. The other robe pulled a capsule from his pockets. Stenstrom skinned his nth pistol and shot him in the chest, dropping him and his robe to the ground. Quickly, they hauled the two dead robes into an alley, took Kat's card, and moved on as fast as they could. Kat chattered about the experience as they quit the area. "Okay, I guess they probably gave you something to speak the local lingo, right? I mean, I don't remember a thing about that. Thank creation for Autumn and John and Melazar's image of my head they made. Otherwise, we'd be renting your head back from the night robes." "I have no idea what you just said, G. You know, it sounds sort of cool listening to you speak a foreign language. I like the sound of it. I'll just stay quiet and let you do the talking for the time being." They continued up the street, keeping all the vendors and prostitutes at arm's length, averting their eyes from lights, avoiding patches of smoke as best they could. Mixed into the crowds were soldiers dressed in green, wearing armor complete with helmets, eye-covering lenses, and oxygen. They carried weapons. Patches on their shoulders announced the word P-Force in gold threads emblazoned with some sort of pouncing animal. 4D tattoos of flapping wings, glittering horns, flexing claws, and other animal accessories floated about their bodies. "Are those the cops? The ECSP, Autumn and John called them?" she asked. Stenstrom nodded. "Maybe they're out looking for us." Stenstrom agreed again. Continuing on, he became somewhat accustomed to the characters populating the street. There were the various seedy vendors in their vests, girded loins, and sweaty turbans, selling all manner of product from local fruits to sinister technology. The wealthier vendors, sporting nicer clothes and more sophisticated setups, appeared to be sponsored by one of the three trades, the reds, yellows, or blues. There were prostitutes hanging in the wings, blowing smoke and seeing everything, on the lookout for customers and new recruits. As with the vendors, various sects of prostitutes were affiliated with different trades. The snakeheads, the ones wearing the mechanical snake headdresses and little else, the ones who bagged Kat, seemed to be the most aggressive, with the backing of the blue robes, assaulting people as they passed by, all in full view of the armored ECSP. In fact, the only time the P-Force took action was when a victim resisted getting vugged. Then they would assist the vugger. The blue robes, the night robes, seemed to be taking up much of their time, pulling them aside with great frequency. And then there were local civilians, people of various lineages mixed in, buying and selling with greater and lesser levels of success. Finally, there were foreigners, visitors, and tourists who somehow found themselves in vain on the street of knowledge, where danger lurked everywhere. Stenstrom watched a mother and her 3 children moving up the street, wearing clothes from Holly, which he recognized by the broad-brimmed hat the mother had on. The mother seemed to realize she and her children were in a fair measure of danger, as her young ones became mesmerized by the wonders in a yellow vendor's tent. He watched them lured into the depths of the tent by the vendor. After waiting a minute, the mother went in to get them. Stenstrom never saw them come out. "Kat, wait here," he said. "What, G?" she replied, rubbing her booted foot. He gave her a hand signal to wait. He went across the street into the smoky tent, its shelves lined with blinking gadgets and wondrous toys, things no child could resist. He held his breath and kept his eyes downcast. He saw no sign of the mother and her children. There was a back exit leading into an alley. He poked his head out. All he found was her hat, lying on the floor near the back exit. The mother and her children were gone. Vane had gotten them. Despondent, feeling he had failed them, he went back out and got Kat, holding her hand tightly. Moving on, they eventually reached the entrance to the Yellow Mountain, where the road wound up its face at a steep angle. They rested a moment. Kat was suffering in her traveling boots and longed to remove them. "I hate these shoes. These Zaffin women must have hooves for feet," she said, rubbing her foot. Stenstrom sighed. Not being able to talk to Kat was a hindrance. Kat looked around, seeing all the people coming and going. Occasionally, they saw floating, open-bed vehicles moving up the street. The vehicle beds were crammed full of people of all sexes and ages, being tended to by people in red, blue, or yellow robes. By their posture and their blank, empty stares, Stenstrom knew they were vugged people, their minds stolen, their insensate bodies being taken to who knows where. Stenstrom looked at the people in the flatbed, searching for the mother and her children, ready to draw his pistols and free them. He found no sign of them. "This place gives me the chills," Kat said. "The sooner we're gone and back with Ottoman and Melazar, the happier I'll be." He nodded. Evening fell, the night sky awash with glowing colors from the great nebula, imparting a permanent, carnival-like atmosphere over the city. Soft glows from tents lining the street created long veins of ruddy light, the main drag of the Street of Knowledge being the most ruddy and throbbing vein of all. The crowd showed no signs of thinning as night fell. The party continued. Stenstrom took Kat's hand as they headed up the Yellow Mountain path, the street pitching up dramatically in elevation, revealing a hive of tightly packed buildings, tents, stalls, and other establishments, all decorated in yellow. "So where do we go? Can we go to any of these places and get what we need?" Kat asked. He shook his head. "We're looking for somebody named Syl." "I have no idea what you said. Lead the way, G." They stopped at a stall, fluttering with yellow banners, selling all manner of blinking, whirling trinkets. Stenstrom inquired where Syl might be found. The merchant directed them farther up the hill to a large tent. They walked there, feeling less easy with every step. A large tent, bigger than a small house, staked and permanently poled into the ground, surrounded by greenery and a host of veiled dancers, presented itself. Next to the tent was a vast, fenced-in area. Roaming about within the fence was a herd of people, aimlessly moving about. They were in various states of squalor. Some wore clean clothes, others filthy rags, and some wore nothing at all. As Stenstrom noted, they all had that same look Kat had after she got vugged, that maudlin, mindless stare offering no hint of intelligence or emotion. A flatbed floated by, offloading a number of people, guiding them into the fenced-in area to roam around with the others like cattle. "More stinkos have arrived," somebody cheered. Stenstrom looked about, searching for his mother and children. They weren't there. As he watched, passers-by paid a yellow-robed attendant to be led into the fence. They wandered about as if in a petting zoo, tormenting the vugged people, pushing them down and laughing as they mechanically stood back up. Some stabbed them and watched them bleed. Some painted their faces and posed for garish photos with them. Some purchased squash from a line of vending machines, went in and smashed the squash against the vugged people's faces, causing a variety of effects. Some capered about like dogs on all fours, or danced with ballerina-like precision. One man paid a sizable sum and lit one of the wretched vugged people on fire, the doomed man blazing like a tree until he toppled. Infuriated, Stenstrom and Kat could watch no more. This was a place of utter cruelty, and it turned his stomach. If he could, he would burn this entire city to the ground. Kat wandered over to the line of vending machines, putting her hands on them, looking at the goods sold. She returned to his side, smiling. "I screwed those machines over, G. I gummed them all up with Silvertech. Good luck fixing that, losers. Maybe those poor people out there will get a little bit of peace tonight." He kissed her on the forehead. "Well done, love." They went to the tent. It was a vast, comfortable place, deep with soft rugs and colorful hangings. Pleasant incense drifted out of brass burners, and droning music played on easy Zaffin instruments. Soft orange lamps dimly lit the interior. It was sparsely populated with locals dressed in canary yellow robes, some seated on benches performing research, others flopped on the rugs, staring at the canvas ceiling, lost in cooped-up haze. The place seemed to Stenstrom to be a den of vice rather than a place of knowledge. A skinny, unhealthy-looking man sat in a corner surrounded by insensate males and females in yellow veils, all swaying to the discordant rhythms of the street. He seemed to be the leader. He pulled from a brass pipe connected to a menthol-loaded decanter via a woven hose. He watched Stenstrom and Kat enter and smiled. "Welcome," he said, smoke drifting out of his mouth in measured puffs. "Strangers, I see. What may the rust do for you?" "Are you Syl?" Stenstrom asked. "I am." Wary of the smoke, they hung out of the tent just beyond the entrance so they could get fresh air, though it was tainted with the smell of burning flesh. Stenstrom noted with some satisfaction the commotion going on at the non-functional vending machines. People fussed, beating on them, trying to get them to function. He was proud of Kat for destroying them. "We seek a slate," Stenstrom answered, putting his newly learned street vocabulary to the test. "I'm told you can assist me." "Ah, many come here for answers. You have chosen well. I shudder to think what might have become of you had you gone to the other trades, the Albert Co. or the night robes. Despicable, the lot of them. The Russ treat their customers well. Might I ask where you are from? For it's clearly not here. You're tonguing up solid right proper Virtus. I'll wager you've had it squashed up into your head to stimulate vain locals. Very wise precaution. You never know what sort you'll bump into out there. Am I right? Never you mind. Understand, we are fully briefed on the antics perpetrated on the Street of Knowledge, and therefore should action be called for, we are ready to respond with deadly force. Stenstrom moved his coat aside, allowing the man to see the grips of his pistols. Syl puffed a few rings of smoke upon seeing them. Shouldn't think you'll be needing your weapons. Please come in and be comfortable. He turned to a grinning man nearby. Fetch drinks. Fetch food. We shan't enter, Stenstrom said. Is that smoke you're smoking? Or is it smoke? Syl smiled. Just to add to your knowledge, smoke doesn't come from a water-based decanter. Water fouls the nanotech. This is merely a smoke engine filled with my favorite blend from Midas. A little water to cool it. But if it'll comfort you, I'll put it away and clear the domicile of smoke at once. He hung the tip of his smoker from a hook and opened a small box to his right. Instantly, a breezy column of air consolidated the smoke into a whitish-gray, tendril-like vortex, dancing about near the tent ceiling. There. The air is clear, both literally and figuratively. Stenstrom and Kat cautiously entered, eyes darting, looking for any possible treachery. Fine wooden chairs were brought to them and placed on the rugs. Plates piled with food were offered by teetering servants in yellow. Care you to sit? Can I press you to an oil date? Syl asked. Thank you, no, Stenstrom said, eyeing the chairs with suspicion. Well then, seems you're aware of all our tricks. All of them harmless, I assure you. So, what sort of slate do you seek? We have much to choose from. We have slates from here to the moon. Paige Dulong of Moane. We wish to purchase her slate. Really? I must say, I'm a bit disappointed a little. Paige Dulong of Moane's slate? Bad bit of juice squatting in our mainframe. There isn't much that can be done with it. Is it for sale, yes or no? Stenstrom demanded. One moment, please, Syl said. A cooped-up man came stumbling out of the back of the tent, holding a tray with a bell sitting on it. Syl picked it up and rang it. Ding, 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 ding. Stenstrom and Kat both went limp. Several servants caught them before they could fall to the floor and manhandled them into the chairs. Syl laughed. Apparently, whoever briefed you on the sundry perils of the Street of Knowledge forgot to mention that sound is a wonderful method of rendering a head full of goodies nice and quiet. It's called dong-dinging in street slang. I'm just dying to know what you got in there and how much it's worth. Both to the market and to you to get it back. I'll bet there's some right proper slate in there. Seems we're not selling today, are we? We're collecting. Hollow screens jumped up all around them. Data flashed. Light streaked across the tent. Now let's see what we have in here. Now you just wait a moment there, Syl of the Russ, came a shrill voice from outside the tent. A group of men and women wearing red robes came rushing up, mostly breathless from trudging up the hill. Madberry Saddle of the Albert Co., Syl said, taken aback. Get your robes off our hill and trundle off to your own pathetic hill, you slags. The red-robed Albert Co. were going nowhere. We got a hot tip. You have a whole udder full of outer veiner fresh milk. You're hoping to churn into sweet butter. She saw Stenstrom and Kat flopped on the chairs and pointed at them. Right there they are. That butter is ours. We've had a marker out on these two all day. We think they 6 feet in a pair of night robes. Down the street after they've verdi hovered the lady fair and square. Seems you can't do a good vugging these days without people fighting back. You're gonna give them to us so we can sell them to the night robes. You out of your robe, Madberry Saddle? Syl squeaked. You want us to pay you for slate we dong-dinged? Slate we mind? You must have squashed in a bad load today. Slide off to your own hillside before I decide to 6 feet you and your lot. Wait, came another voice. A group of people wearing light blue robes, the hoods pulled over their heads, came up. That slate belongs to the night robes. Lyman Huffboy, Syl cried. You night robes have no business here. We laugh at your robes. The night robes are the most fearsome trade on the 3 hills. You Albert Codes, you robes are red like my ass. You Russ, your robes are yeller like my favorite concubine's teeth. The night robes have been keeping Vane Black Hat free for ages. We were dimed up today with some hot skinny that a rabid black hat did 6 feet a pair of our best lurkers. Hear tell she's trying to set up shop in Vane, and we claim her as God's own. He pointed at Kat, and there she is, already dong-ding prostrate for us. Now you hand her over, Syl of the Russ, and let me save us all from her evil. This woman was dong-dinged by the Russ. We haven't scanned her yet. Your robes are uncleaning this place of learning with your presence. One of the night robes handed Lyman Huffboy a scanner. Yeah, she's a black hat for certain, Lyman. Got a classic evil bitch matrix floating up in there. Yeah, Lyman cried. We'll be taking her and the newbie brainy dude for our troubles. Tully no, Syl cried. We're taking their slate, and the girl's going to the Snakehead Whores, and the dude's going stinko to the Verdi Hubby Range outside, where all the city goodies can have at them. Mad Barry Saddle of the Albert Co. reacted. The pair of them be ours. Touch either them, touch their udder heads, and we'll be squashing in a proper fighting slate and handle all you robes personal. The night robes, all revealed, pull down pockets in their robes filled with dark capsules. Then let us test our latest squash. I call it kick the asses of the Rush and the Albert Co. squash. Still stood furious. That's it! We're vacating the lot of you from Russ Mountain. He wildly gestured at his yellow-robed associates. Fackwil, David, Tekma, Hansu, Sobi, all you squash into this fight and load up a no-mercy squash. On all 3 sides, capsules of various colors emerged. There were an odd few moments where foreheads were slapped, and all the contestants were suitably squashed up with their squash of choice. Soon, the 3 sides of apparently untrained people were transformed into poised, deadly fighters, all jumping about with precision, flashing blades, raising hands against equally skilled opponents. The battle spilled into the tent in a chaotic wave, overturning chairs, knocking over boxes. Syl, not a participant, retreated out the back. Stenstrom and Kat were knocked out of their chairs, both of them lying limp on the floor, both of them slowly trying to stand up. A night robe deftly plunged his dagger into a defending Russ and had an open path, claiming them as his prize. He put his arms around them, trying to lead them away. Kat stirred, barely aware of what was going on. She didn't know who she was or where she was. There was a man next to her. Who was he? And who was the man dragging both she and him across the floor? Something replayed in her mind. Images of a man in a hat and a tall woman floated across her jumbled thoughts. Images of a bag full of green capsules, and of breaking the capsules against her head. What did the green look like? Tentatively, feeling about her clothing, she found a bag. Inside were a bunch of pretty capsules that looked good enough to eat. Green, that's what green looked like. Smash it against your forehead. Moments later, Silvertech claws exploded into the night robe's chest, spilling a torrent of blood to the rugged floor. He fell. Kat scrabbled free of his dead grip, her claws dripping with the man's blood. Her thoughts restored, she saw Stenstrom lying face first on the floor a few feet away, unmoving. She turned him over. Gee! Stenstrom had a blank, 1,000-yard stare on his face. No intelligence. He needed his capsules, the white ones Ottoman John and Melazar had given them. She fumbled with his heavy HRN coat, reaching in, looking for the bag. All around her, people in yellow, red, and blue robes battled in a complex harmony of destruction. 2 red Albert Co. advanced on her, moving with skill and speed. Where was his bag? The two Albert Co. were on her. She commenced a fight for her life, battling against the two, they evading her claws and counterattacking with startling skill. Only Kat's speed, darting, bouncing off the walls, saved her from being subdued instantly. The Albert Co. were too strong, too skilled. She needed more room to move, room to fight. She saw she was in a tent. She lunged for the nearest wall and cut her way out into the night air, the Albert Co. fast on her heels. She saw a large fenced-in area populated by a number of still zombie-like people, some of whom were undressed. She wasn't sure what was going on, but she had a fast idea. She darted from one person to the next, slamming her green capsuled squash into their foreheads as the Albert Co. pursued. Instantly, the 6 people she had squashed came to life. Moving like Kat, they jumped around in a chaotic bunch like an entire team of cats, displaying her speed and agility, though their joints popped with the effort. With their combined might, they attacked the Albert Co. high and low, knocking them down, punching and kicking, quickly overwhelming them. G! Where's G? They said in a chorus, jabbering amongst themselves. Male and female, young and adult, all of them believed they were Kat. She bounded back into the tent, along with the squashed people, to Stenstrom. He had managed to stand up like a statue. They went through the many pockets lining his HRN, looking for the bag of squash. G! They all chattered in noisy unison. Several Russ came into the tent, moving toward Kat. Frantic, she and the others pulled up an assortment of items from his HRN, throwing them at the Russ, hoping to slow them down. One of them had a green holy stone. She threw it. Webbing erupted, engulfing the Russ. Another one had some of his silver pans and tools. He threw them at the webbing. Continuing their search, they finally found the bag of squash. Kat pulled a capsule and applied it to his forehead. The Russ worked their way out of the webbing. Kat and 4 others attacked the Russ, quickly battering them to the ground. Stenstrom, his forehead slick with squash, shook his head. Where are we? He asked, speaking normal League common again. All of the cats answered. I don't know. Somewhere on the street. Vane. We're in Vane. The others pawed at him. G! Are you all right, G? They asked, all thinking they were Kat. 3 Russ attacked. Stenson shot and killed one with his pistols, while Kat and 3 others engaged the other 2, fighting in a deadly dance, her clothes shredding, her tail erupting from her back. She clubbed one over the head, sending her down as the last stabbed in, looking for a weak spot. The other cats tried to create shadow tech, but seemed surprised when nothing came out. Another shot from Stenstrom's end. The Russ was dead. Stenstrom cocked his pistols. Listen, you people, head down the street, away from the mountains, to the office of Otto and John and Melazar of Caroline. It's a couple miles down the street. They'll help you. But why? I want to stay with you, G, they replied. Go! Hurry! Don't stop for anything. The group of cats turned and bounded out of the tent, some of the robes pursuing them. Stenstrom grabbed Kat by the tail. Not you! You stay! The remaining robes saw the destruction in the tent and momentarily forgot their dispute, all of them coming for Stenstrom and Kat. Out the back! Quickly! Stenstrom TKing and Kat running on all 4s, they tore out of the back of the tent. They quickly saw a small, bent person huffing and puffing up the hill at a slow speed to safety. Is that Syl? Kat asked. Don't know. He's wearing a yellow robe. Let's get him. The man momentarily turned and saw them pursuing. He squashed a capsule against his head. Suddenly, he was running like a professional athlete, all arms and legs, tripling his previous speed. It wasn't enough. Kat was on him, tackling him from behind in a tumble of yellow robes, eventually revealing his pale, skinny legs and ill-fitting underwear. Aha! He cried, protecting his face with his hands. He babbled in Vertus. Paige Dulong's slate. Now, Stenstrom roared. He pleaded with them in Vertus. Kat put her bloody claws to his throat. Paige Dulong's slate. He nodded and pointed at a building a short way up the hill. They dragged him there, entering the multi-leveled building festooned with yellow banners and bright lights. Inside was a group of officious-looking Russ sitting at various terminals counting money. They all stopped what they were doing as the 3 entered. Syl cried out in Vertus as they entered. Banga, banga, banga! Kill them! He added in LC. The surprised Russ stood, drawing weapons. Stenstrom Stenstrom gunned them down with his ints, the rust falling without resistance. Kat moved a dead body aside and roughly seated Syl at a desk. "Guessing you can understand me. You can understand me, right?" She shook him. He slavered in fear. "Now, the slate! Hurry up!" she roared in an uncharacteristically savage voice, her silver claws gleaming at his throat. This is an unprotected terminal," Syl pleaded in LC. "Do it!" Kat roared. Shaking, Syl pecked at the keys, moving data around. Outside, the remaining Russ, Albert Coe, and Nightrobes arrived. They banged at the door with Stenstrom blocked. He fired his ints at the door, the green globes passing through it harmlessly to the outside. He heard the startled cries through the door as the globes did their work. Bullets came whizzing in through the windows in response. Stenstrom returned fire. "Kat, mind the windows!" Syl pulled a drive open and handed Kat a disc. "Here, page too long of Moane's complete archive. Take it, you bitch, you. Kat wasn't convinced. "This is it? You're sure?" "It's there. It's all there, you stupid whore, you. Kat pulled out the swipe scanner Ottoman John had given them to verify the data. She swiped it across the surface of the disk. A red light came on. No data. Kat reacted and partially sawed through Syl's left ear, drawing a huge amount of blood. He screamed, "You sneaky bastard! Shall I slice off the rest of your ear and keep going till I get to your tongue and then your nuts? The data! Now!" Whimpering, he resumed pecking at the terminal. All right, I'll get you the data, all right. We're at the B-Force. Kill you! I'm gonna kill you! A nightrobe dramatically came spinning through the window. Stenstrom fired but missed. He leapt around the room with cat-like agility. Syl stopped what he was doing and cheered. Yeah, that's right. He's got a gorilla swash. Now what are you gonna do, criminals? You're both gonna die. Banga! As he neared Kat, blades poised to rain down on her, Stenstrom found the range and shot him in the face. He died, crashing through a desk with a dramatic death flip. "What?" Syl gasped. Kat pulled on Syl's lacerated ear, drawing a pained whimper. "Last chance. The data, or you're going to be down on the floor next to him." Syl hyperventilated as he continued with the terminal, mumbling in fear. He clacked on the keys. All right. Where's the P-Force? It's done. Please, you stupid cow, you bitch. Here's your data. The drive opened. A fresh disc gleamed in the drive. From outside, the wiry, amplified voice of Madberry Saddle came in. Syl, baby, you keep your robes on. We'll have these criminals taken care of in no time. Another voice barged in, this one harder, more authoritative. Attention, criminals. This is the ECSP. We've got you surrounded. You cannot escape. Come out and get strung up like a man. Hurry, Kat, Stenstrom cried. The P-Force! Syl cried like a little girl. He trembled with excitement. You hear that, criminals? It's the P-Force! Outside, you're dead. You're dead, you whore, you bitch, you slut. You can't have that disc I just made. It belongs to the Russ. Give it to me. Kat's tail wrapped around his throat and squeezed. Gah! Skill squeaked. Kat pulled the disc out. She scanned it. Green this time. Gee, we've got it. Kat pushed Syl to the floor. He gasped for air. Stenstrom took her and fled up the stairs as a horde of armored green police and various robes smashed through the door and came charging in. Ah! They got my ear! They cut off my ear! They strangled me and stole Slate. Get them, you trades! You P-Force! All blaze to P-Force! Now kill them! Get the data! The data! Bring me the woman! I'm gonna squash her into thinking she's a giant vagina! Syl cried, blood from his ear bubbling through his fingers, the whole lot in a torrid pursuit. Climbing several floors, Kat and Stenstrom reached the roof, the nighttime of Vane glittering before them. Holding Kat, Stenstrom TK'd into flight. quickly leaving the deadly scene behind. The Street of Knowledge, blinking, lined with lights like a bed of gems, looked rather peaceful from the air. Faded into the shadows, flying low to avoid detection, they soon arrived at Autumn and John's office. Melazar was elated as she greeted them. "You're back! Looks like you two have seen some action." "We have the data," Stenstrom said. Melazar took it. "Let me have a look." All three trades were gunning for us. "We did that," Autumn and John said, emerging from the back. "We thought you'd have a better chance if all three trades were looking for you. We call it a robe wrangle." It worked. Fighting amongst themselves saved us. Sitting in the rear of the office were the 6 people Kat had squashed into thinking they were her. They had been cleaned up and fed, the remnants of their meal sitting on the table in front of them. The nude ones were covered in blankets. They were sitting in a thick cloud of smoke. Stenstrom and Kat were elated. "Oh, they made it! We were so worried about them," Kat said. Autumn and John replied, "They arrived a little while ago, all of them carrying your slate. We're sorting through the markers whoever vugged them left behind. Once we know that, we can try to hack in and get their heads back." "They were being subjected to torture up the street." Melazar nodded. Verdi Hovey parks are a popular thing up in Pentagal. Autumn and John approached and placed a shiny disc on both Stenstrom and Kat's foreheads. Data uploaded into their brains, filling in the events of the day that they had lost since getting vugged. "We kept track of your movements. These radar discs should fill in the blanks of whatever you lost. It's part of your premium package." Stenstrom remembered the missing parts of the day. He was concerned. "I saw a mother and her children getting vugged this afternoon. I tried to help them, but they vanished. I hope they can be found and given their souls back." Autumn and John smiled. "A woman and her children? 3 children, perhaps?" "Yes." Autumn and John pressed a few keys at his terminal. "These?" A woman in a broad-brimmed hat and her 3 children emerged from the back office. Stenstrom was elated. "You found them! Ma'am, I was so concerned for your welfare today." The woman said nothing. "They're not real, Lord Belmont," Autumn and John said. "They're buds, or blow-up dolls, as we call them. They're holograms, fintrons, actually. I create several dozen of them every day and set them loose in Pentagal, altering their appearance a little each time. I try to make them as innocent-looking and bewildered as possible, so the vuggers will go for them as an easy mark, and maybe leave a few real visitors alone." Stenstrom reached out and touched the lady's face. As he did so, she disappeared, leaving only her hat lying on the floor. He smiled. "Had me fooled." He pulled his money bag out and left it on the table. "Here, for your trouble and kind assistance for these poor souls." Melazar checked the disc. "Data's good. It's Paige DeLong of Moane's slate, all right. Nice as you please. Let me get this squashed for you." She went into the back. "I was hoping we could keep the disc. Might help us further our knowledge," Autumn and John said. "Keep it. How long do you think it'll be before you can restore these people?" "Couple of days. Don't you worry. We'll have them all up nice and bright." Soon, Melazar returned with a bag full of red capsules. "Here you go. Brand spanking new Paige DeLong of Moane squash. It's on a timer, about 3 or 4 hours a squash. If you need it longer, it's going to take us a while to get it ripped." Stenstrom took the bag. "It's fine as is. Thank you. I can't tell you how much your services have helped us, and for the other souls out there who otherwise would find no mercy or help out there. I hope our presence hasn't endangered you all. They called the ECSP on us." "Nah, the robes in the P-Force aren't as bright as they think," Melazar said. "We're fine." "You're certain?" 100% max." They said their goodbyes. They hadn't gone far when down the street a contingent of yellow and red robes, flanked by green ECSP soldiers, stopped and pointed at them. "There they are! Get them! Halt, criminals!" Stenstrom drew his ints and Kat her claws. A moment later, they were standing back in the Hall of Mirrors. And with that, we conclude Part 4, Chapter 5, The Street of Knowledge. And thank God, my voice is wrecked. Trying to do all those crazy voices for y'all. I try to go the extra mile, and all I get is misery. I need to drink some tea or something, because I've about lost it. I have to do a ton of editing on this. You won't hear it in the final product, but I was messing up left and right. All of you will get a pristine, error-free copy. My phone was ringing. My computer was dinging. I was sneezing, voice cracking, heart pounding, veins clogging. You name it, it was going on. But you're going to get a pristine end result. Anywho, that was the Street of Knowledge. One of the weirdest chapters I've ever written, and one of my most popular. I get a lot of feedback on that one, and people say they really like it just because of how strange it is. But I don't know. A couple of the names I used in there, Madberry Saddle. I sometimes I just brainstorm names and I keep them like in a little book. And I'd come up with the name Madberry Saddle a while back and never really had a use for it, but I figured I'd use it here, give it to the leader of the Albert Co., Madberry Saddle. Lyman Huffboy, I don't know where I just made that one up on the fly. Like, why not? Lyman Huffboy. But anywho, I hope you enjoyed the Street of Knowledge. Next week, the quest continues and things get even harder as we move to Part 4, Chapter 6, The Desolation of Xandar. Here is where Aetha lays her cards on the table and reveals why she's involved in these proceedings to begin with. So that will be next week. Anywho, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.